everyone, and a warm welcome to this episode of Strengther, brought to you by CXO Digital Pulse. This series is an initiative where we are celebrating the resilience and achievements of remarkable women who are leaving an incredible mark through their journey. Today, we are excited to introduce an extraordinary woman who is a philanthropist and a social entrepreneur, Poonam Vijay Thakkar. And she calls herself PVT also. She works as a mentor with Niti Aayog, a Government of India digital initiative. She also founded hashtag Support Saturdays, which is LinkedIn's first ICSR platform in 2020, and then hashtag V2 Voices, a women's platform and a podcast. Let's move and get to know her a bit more.
Hi everyone, this is Poonam Vijay Thakkar and I am so glad to be on this platform, CXO Digital Pulse. Thank you so much. My message for everyone out there on this Women's Day is that, there's a very famous quote by Anne, and she goes about saying this, that a ship is always safe at the shore, but that is exactly not what a ship is built for. So let's not be at the shore. Women will now, in this day and age, have to start taking lead and take up the battles that we are supposed to with pride. And I am actually wearing a t-shirt. I don't know if it is visible. It says that I am fantastic as I am. With this inner self-belief, women have to take charge in the world and move forward. Happy Women's Day, everyone.
Very warm welcome, Poonam, to our show and to this series that we have that we are calling Strengther as an initiative of CXO Digital Pulse, to get in touch with all the empowered women out there, both in enterprises as well as in entrepreneurial world, who are making a mark for themselves and are definitely or also an inspiration and leading that beacon for others.
Thank you so much, Riya and Prateek, for your very kind invitation. I'm very happy to be on your platform. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Great. So Poonam, we will start with some set of rapid fire questions just to understand a bit more about who you are. So starting with, which was your first ever job?
Pre-MBA era, my first was with All India radio station, and post-MBA it was Orange, which then as a brand went on to become Hutch, and today we know the company as Vodafone.
Yeah. And you're an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird, any day.
Okay. And what's your ideal way to spend a weekend?
Oh, there are such a long bucket list that I want to finish, and I feel one day I was doing an exercise to count how many weekends I have as per human lifespan, and I realized that it's too short a time to finish everything. So I try to do everything to answer your question, which I am not able to do in my 5 days of work. So it could be several things.
Okay. And it seems as if you have a lot of wish list which you try to tick mark over the weekend.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So a historical figure you'd like to meet?
There are several, but because we are celebrating Women's Day, Miss Sarojini Naidu, to learn the art of leadership from her. She was one of the very, very important leaders in our history. Indian history, I would say, in the political sector. I would have loved to meet Princess Diana, to learn life from her. Of course, Mother Teresa, to learn, to be able to get some blessings from her,
And with that, it's giving me a feeling, Poonam, that you're always looking for more and more. Rather than a historical figure, you have given me 3.
Good analysis.
Okay, so one habit that you are proud of breaking it already, or you would like it?
I believe it's a very theoretical answer, but constantly we are evolving. And one habit that I have to let go of was to think that you have been there and done that. I think that constantly you are struggling when you're working hard in your life, you want to say, today I'm done. Now I don't want to work hard. I want to reap the fruits. So the way world is evolving and changing, one habit that I had to mentally break was to be in the status quo and take what is coming in the stride and think of it as a new life, and go with the flow. That was a mindset change. It took a lot of time to build.
Great, Poonam. I would say it was indeed really amazing answers that we've got you from the rapid fire. And now we'll move into our main section where we will be delving more about your journey, how has that been, and try to understand a bit more. And to start off, Poonam, we have understood that you became financially independent at a very early age. I would say at the age of 12, when you joined All India Radio in your hometown, Gwalior, as a child artist. And after that, as you mentioned, post MBA, you were able to crack a job there in Orange, which is now Vodafone. Apart from that, you also did theatre, and you have acted on the small screen alongside your corporate career. And this was a cameo that I'm mentioning, which was in DD1, which was one of the longest running shows known as Urmila. And there was a Sony's show, Kya Hoga Nimmo Ka. And then there was CID Special Bureau. I would say you're multifaceted.
You have done some solid research, I would say.
So, sailing through your various leadership roles and exploring all these aspects also of you, from theatre to a full-time marketeer who you are for over the last 2 decades. How much of this was planned?
So there is something that as humans we plan, Pratik, and there is something which is a God's plan. So somewhere you have to come in consensus with what is happening in your life as circumstances, and then you have to deploy your leadership skills or mindset to be able to maneuver in those situations. So I would say that a lot of it was planned, but what actually happened was I, post my MBA, shifted to Mumbai because my paternal side is based out of Mumbai, and it was a natural progression for me to look for a career because I was career oriented, and I said that I must be at least in this country in the top city of our country. Why not? And hence coming a little bit from the creative side, it was a natural progression that I would move to Mumbai. This was long ago. Within 6 months of I coming here, and that is when I had started working for Orange. Just 6 months, and unfortunately I lost my father. I had several plans, but then this very personal incident in my life completely jolted me, because now there is no safety net. And he was my mentor, in the sense that I looked up to him for, just like any other person, you always look up to your father for everything. Every problem, that there is somebody you can just run to. This completely changed my thought process in the sense that now I had to deploy my mindset into thinking and planning my life, which has to be risk-free. I was not in a position to be taking risks with respect to my life or my career because of the loss of this safety net. So the natural progression was that now you are an MBA, you were able to get a good job in I was in the VAS team, value-added services team in Orange, and I said, okay, now my trajectory has to be completely corporate world. Though, as you mentioned, I must appreciate you did a lot of research about it. I don't know how, but then, yes, all of that was passion work, because I, at a very early stage, was a part of creative field, and with, as a radio jockey with All India radio station, stuff like that. So all of that became a passion work for weekends, and this was the planned stuff, I would say. And then everything else was focused on the corporate life. Even if you look at my corporate career, unlike a lot of others, you would see, coming from the creative field, I had always dabbled with different kinds of businesses. Your core should be very strong with you. You must know everything about your core domain. When I say domain as a professional, that domain is what you are good at, not the business. Usually people think domain means your business domain. No, businesses could be any. I'm talking about your personal domain. So are you good? Are you left brain? Are you right brain? You have to self-assess yourself instead of fitting yourself into some mold because the world or the society or parents want you to be. Leave that mold and first you figure out who you are. I think this exercise is very, very important. I've had people on my teams where I have been able to figure out this person is good at this. Whenever there is a problem in this segment, this person is always able to give freely an answer that has worked for us. Having said that, this professional is not from this department or not from this segment. Like in marketing, you have so many functions. Why that person was able to deliver? Because subconsciously that innate skill was there. And this person did not have the pressure of performance. So coolly you're sitting in a team meeting with 20 of you together, and this person, because it is someone else's problem, would subconsciously give a solution. And that is when I will look at the person and say, this skill you have, I think you are more needed in this field or in this function more than that. That's a different thing. Catching people's skill set red-handed, I would say. But then they also realize, oh, I never thought I'm good at this, and I am good at this. So self-analysis of what you are good at becomes a very important, I call it your internal GPS, understand your internal GPS system, right? So that is how I started, and I realized that my creative work helped me, because marketing at that time was completely offline, and offline, so there was no digital. Offline would mean you being present, you doing lots of events, you doing lots of BTL, you doing lots of advertising, you would see brands coming out with ads, and what is there in the ad when you are trying to shoot your brand films or brand architecture? It's all creative work. So natural progression, but I understood my domain has to be marketing, where the creativity can be deployed. And then I harped onto different businesses. I, by choice, decided I will never join a competition. That was by choice. A lot of professionals would say that it's easy to get fast progression from one competitor to another. But for me, it was, I calculated I'm going to work for 40 years in my life if I'm alive. And what's the point of just repeating yourself? Do different things, leave your mark and move on. What's the point of, you've given your 200%. There's no 200%, there's only 100%, right? You have already given that. Unless you have built your skill set to the next level, then it makes sense to join a competitor and say, okay, this is all we can do. But otherwise, what's the point? So views could be different, but that's how I designed my career. So it was much planned.
As you mentioned, you doubled, and there's an internal introspection or realignment of the GPS, and I've seen that you have moved a lot, and with that you also started to give back to the world journey also for yourself, where you started working with Niti Aayog in 2018 out of your passion, and this was alongside your full-time job with Aditya Birla Group. So do you think it was your internal feminine trait to do more for less? What was the thought behind it?
Because I started working very early, so by the time it was like pre-MBA era and post-MBA era, it was close to 16, 17 years of work. When Niti Aayog happened, I jumped for it, reason being, you could see how as a country we were growing with the good leadership, a great Prime Minister who himself is such a great CMO. I call him the CMO of our country because these are ideas we never saw, and he's driving ideas at the country level. What is Swachh Bharat? It's an idea. It's a campaign which we all are trying to drive as a country. So it was natural for me to increase my strength in understanding at a larger scale, which is not just your team or your business, but at the country level. Gave me fantastic opportunities. So I loved on it.
Great. And as you sail through various organizations, I'm sure you would have encountered various challenges also throughout your journey. And it would not be easy to sit in boardrooms where there were very limited count of women alongside, or I would say no women at all. So what was your strategy to maintain your sanity or emotional balance while facing these challenges and taking, say, some of the most difficult decisions that you ever have taken?
Very good question, I would say. So I started sitting in the board effectively from 2011. And unfortunately, always alone. And you've actually used the right word, sanity. Because there is a great bonding that happens when there is a group of men, right? Men are naturally, they are quick bonders. They would become a quick group very fast. I have seen men bonding so fast. There are no inhibitions. They are not trying to judge each other. The moment they say or they see that this is our group, we are supposed to, they just become friends. This does not happen with women. So when I am also talking to women who work with me, there are some inhibitions. You constantly are trying to think of breaking the ice, so it takes time. This art I learned from so many dignified men I worked with. I realized that for me, it was about learning from them. How they are able to become friends so fast. What is it that they are talking? So for me, instead of looking at them as a different gender, where I am alone, if I were to think of that there is a boardroom and there are 20 people and I am alone, then I am going to feel very, very insecure and very, very intimidated. The strategy to keep my sanity on was, instead of focusing my energies on feeling intimidated or feeling left out alone, or can I make a mark? I mean, who would let me? I used to do double mehnat in what I'm supposed to talk or in what I'm supposed to put on the table. Go through the paper so much. I used to prepare like a CEO. Like, forget about my department. Are there ideas that I can give to the person who is leading the sales, person who is leading the tech, person who is leading the HR, any other function, which I knew would be my counterpart sitting. So for me, it was not about giving them ideas free. It was about whenever I could feel that this is where they are going to get stuck or they are going to deliberate or do discussions, I would nicely pitch in and say, how about this? So they started looking at me as an enabler.
Okay.
And that helped me. So what I'm trying to say is, sanity is they looking beyond you as a woman and your counterparts looking at you as an enabler. Can you give that on the table? Then that respect comes on the table.
Poonam, as you mentioned that, you did a lot of hard work, a lot of homework was being done before you actually took that place in the meeting. And while others were looking at enabler, do you ever felt that kind of insecurity within the men, or that kind of unacceptance on the table when you were there sitting and discussing challenges within their team or pitching an idea for their team?
Always. Honest answer, always. But something that worked for me was the regulation that happened, that you need to build diversity on your teams, right? So by the virtue of they having that sword on their neck, that this woman is precious on the team, she should not leave and go, right? She should be there on the team, worked for me. That was one, from the HR point of view. Second was, am I bringing, as I said, enabler, am I bringing that efficiency on the table or no? So that was in my hands. If you're smart, if you are brainy, which most of the women are, I was looking at one interview of Sudha Murthy ji, and she said, hands down, women are more intelligent than men. And I also agree. But if you go to men, and when you're sitting in a boardroom with 12 men, can you go and say, you know what, I'm the smarter here, listen to me? Answer is no. So team bonding, team building, being a part of the team, being able to present yourself in a certain way, being an enabler. There's a lot of hard work that women have to do to be able to earn that seat, and to be able to sustain on that seat. It's not easy. It is not at all easy. It's a constant hard work. In fact, it is much easier when you're not in the board level, because you just go with your KRAs and your KPIs, you do a good job and you're appreciated. Here, it is about your executive presence. So a lot needs to be worked on that side. And that needs a lot of mental work, and not just work.
Okay.
What I'm trying to say is one is good work and then one is mental work. So they have to go hand in hand.
Okay. So you strategized a lot when you were entering the boardroom. How are the strategies, say, at home? So how different or similar is your approach when you're working there in your office or when you're at home managing the household?
I personally feel that the way you are, you cannot have split personalities. Then you have a defect. We see movies, right? You have seen several movies where somebody is having split personality. That is a defect, or that is a different capability or ability, whatever you want to say, right? So nobody is different. I believe what you are at home is what you will carry to office. And what you are at office is those traits will carry forward with you at home. Having said that, I keep saying this in several sessions that women definitely, the moment you enter the house, you become a homemaker, right? You are no more that designated person in that organization. You become a homemaker. Personally, I feel when you look at a person and the way their demeanor is, the way they perform or the way they conduct themselves at office, more or less, they will be the same at home. Having said that, for women, it is difficult, it is different, and it is challenging because, for example, there is no designation at home. You are the woman of the house, right? Sometimes you have boss at home also, which could be your mother-in-law or could be your husband, or you never know, how whoever you want to call as a boss, or you may be the boss at home. So you have to figure out that life also. And at work, maybe you are still at a mid-level or a senior level, so there is no comparison. So here your conduct has to be very different, and when you come home, you will align yourself to in what category at home you are. But more so at home, homemaker means nothing but responsibilities. There is no work to anything but you taking care of your responsibilities and being able to set those parameters and systems in place so that when you are at work, leaving this, you are at peace. This is not equal for men. So men would have sporadic responsibilities, but when it comes to a woman, I think globally, I've spoken to so many of them, home is always a woman. So it's your den, it's your domain.
Okay. So with this prioritization, Poonam, so if I ask you two things that women must do and must not do, what those would be?
Two things that women should not do, must not do. First would be thinking that you are any less than any other gender. It's a cliche, but I still feel less of confidence in women because they feel it's a man's world. We live in a man's world for sure. There are several researchers that claim that it will still take 150 years for that level of equality to come in the world, where all the genders will have the equal space and everything. So it's a long haul. Having said that, in your own circle of influence, you can have equality. You can build equal systems. So let's try to take those small goals and not feel any less. So you should stop immediately thinking that you are any less.
Okay.
That's one. Second, self-belief and constant learning. At the same time, thinking that because you are working and you are going out and you come from a family that is supporting you to build your career. So I want women to stop really thinking that because you have a career, so you can come back as a boss at home and possibly think like a boss at home. I want women to stop thinking when you come at home, leave the arrogance and be that nurturer. A good home and a good career is the right balance.
With that thought, if I was to ask that, what advice would you give to women to effectively market their abilities and potential in professional settings, because as you mentioned, they need to create a balance. But I believe marketing skill set is something that women need to emphasize more. So how they should do that?
Absolutely right. All my life, I've been a marketer. Can any organization or a good product survive or thrive without marketing? Answer is no. So if you want to thrive, survive and thrive, the same logic applies to you. You would be just a human resource product for an organization. So without marketing, how is it possible? You may survive, but if you want to thrive, you must know thriving will happen when you're able to go up the survival ladder and say, put some strategy, put marketing brains, and be able to be that product that comes out in the top of mind recall. For women, especially, we feel that that's a very big tick if we are working and if we have some position. We don't believe in marketing ourselves because we don't think that we should. So again, going back in the should not wala list, this should also get added. And to answer how they should market, you don't have to be in every party on this earth. You don't have to be. I see a lot of women coming and say, we don't network, we have to go back home, work time is enough, we can't socialize much. But my question is, can't you socialize and be in that network once a month? Okay, you don't be 5 times in a month, like how your male counterparts are doing. But can you tick off that presence? And instead of not doing 100%, can you do once? Can you be a part of industry events where your presence will make a difference? So can you deploy that judgment? How much of your visibility will mean good to your career? And after employing that judgment, decide and then take up the things. Also, internally in the organizations, I see women taking a backseat. They will do all the hard work. You know, there is an important event, all the hard work I see women only doing. Mostly. Sorry to say, I'm going to offend a lot of men here. I also had so many and have men on my team, but I'm saying you don't have to remind women to do something. If a project is given, in your head, you would know that it will be done. But when the day comes to take credibility, then you would see women shying away. Yeah, I did. Yeah, correct. Go out with confidence. This is done by me. Right? So have that confidence to take your personality and say, this is what I have done and I'm proud of it. Women don't do that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Poonam, for your insights. And I would say we have taken a quite of impressive lessons for women. The main being that, just voice it out. Have your, inner voice come out and take those calls for you. And marketing is one thing that they need to skill up for themselves to. You are making a mark, but until and unless the people who are there to acknowledge and appreciate you won't progress further. So that's definitely an important takeaway. Thank you for being there with us on this episode of Strengther, an initiative of CXO Digital Pulse.
Absolutely my honor to be on your show, and I'm delighted to be here. Happy Women's Day to all of you and everyone around.